Hey, if you haven't read Ann Coulter's new book, it is phenomenal. I mean, if you just don't understand what's going on, what happened, all these crazy Democrats. So this is the book, the new Ann Coulter book. It's called Resistance is Futile. It explains everything. You just go to Amazon or AnnCoulter.com. Ann Coulter, how you doing?
Fantastic. How are you, Mark Simone?
Good. I've noticed every time you write a book about something,
it happens.
It happens, and this is about the nuttiness, what these Democrats are going to do to this country. And then every time you write it, it gets worse after you write the book.
Well, the evidence is certainly more obvious at that point. So can we all admit that Christine Blasey Ford was a lying loon by now?
Excuse me, it's Dr. Ford.
Oh, she's got to knock that off. If you're not an MD, you're not a doctor. Plus, which it turns out she's not even a psychologist. Did you see that?
Yeah, well, if you went to a psychologist and you walked in and this woman was going, wouldn't you run out of the room?
So now we have her ex-boyfriend saying that, yet another lie she told under oath. I think we're up to 4 at this point, including that she's not a psychologist, has a fear of flying, had to flee her home. Now we have and it was weird that the prosecutor asked her this, but have you ever talked to anyone about taking a polygraph test? And the sex crimes prosecutor who was questioning her, that woman, Mitchell, she specified, I don't mean just how to beat a polygraph, but just how it's taken. So the ex-boyfriend wrote a letter saying, number one, he watched her coach her best friend on how to take a polygraph. She was applying for a federal job, spent like an hour saying what to expect, what would happen, what to do, how it works. He lived with her for 6 years. This wasn't, a fly-by-night boyfriend. Broke up with her when he got her cheating on him in Hawaii, took her off, they were living together, took her off his credit cards and says she about a year later, was using the same credit card, although he'd taken her name off of it. And when he confronted her, she denied it. So he said, well, I'm going to have to call the fraud department then. And then she admitted it. So we have a liar who did perjure herself under oath. Oh, and of course, she never, ever mentioned to him anything about having been sexually assaulted and said she flew all the time.
But still, the president should not be commenting on her since he's the one that may have to prosecute her next week.
They better prosecute these liars. Now, Julie Swetnick, the one who claimed she repeatedly went to gang rape parties.
This is the Avenatti client.
Yeah. She's my favorite. I want a 24-hour network dedicated to nothing but Julie Swetnick. I just want to have interviews with her all day long. I noticed yesterday, I assume you saw the Kate Snow of NBC interview with Julie Swetnick when they first did it. And you could see at first Kate Snow's really excited about landing this big interview, and within about 3 questions, she's thinking, oh please, God, take me out of here. Let there be a system-wide power failure. Make this interview stop. Swetnick she's like a gypsy. She's just such an obvious grifter. By the end of the interview, her purse was missing. But MSNBC is replaying that interview all day yesterday, and that's how I got the idea to demand that Republicans have a 12-hour hearing with nothing but Julie Swetnick. I want the Democrats tied to the hip with to Julie Swetnick. This is their main accuser. Of course, that's not including the blockbuster New York Times report yesterday that in college, in a bar, Brett Kavanaugh was suspected of throwing ice. And today, I guess they have a really big one on him organizing a beach party in a high school in which he made a joke about, with 8 of his friends, a joke about, heavy drinking and puking. So, this is big. We got big stuff here, Mark.
Now, you know what's interesting? The president never at any time mocked Dr. Ford. He never said a word of his own. He never offered any opinion or commentary. If we played the clip over and over again, he literally just reads her testimony, just recites her testimony, and that was enough to get a huge laugh from a crowd. Just reciting her literal testimony is a comedy routine.
God bless him. That is fantastic. And I will say his press conference earlier in the week on not infrastructure, it was on the new NAFTA deal. And of course all the questions about Kavanaugh. He was so magnificent. It was as good as a press conference I write about in my book that drove the press mad, the post-Charlottesville press conference. Those are really two of his greatest moments as president. I wish he could just be the Republican spokesman for life. And I hope Republicans watch that to see how it's done. Most Republicans are just so used to, oh, please be nice to us, media, and what do we have to do to sue for peace? And wow, not Trump. It was really great that he responded to the nonsense charges about Kavanaugh by talking about the skeletons in the Democrats' closets. He turned it right around and said, I've seen a lot of these guys 3 sheets to the wind. There are a lot of these guys with things these sitting in judgment with things to hide. And when asked for specifics, he brought up Senator, Connecticut Senator, your Senator Mark Blumenthal lying about having served in Vietnam. He got busted on it, and if Republicans hadn't been running the wrestling lady, he would have lost that election, even in Connecticut.
Well, hey, after this is all over, I mean, we could prosecute or massive civil suits against this doctor.
I hope they do that. No walking away. I'm sick of these false allegations being charged. I mean, look, the false accuser in the Duke LaCrosse rape case, why wasn't she ever prosecuted? The whole case falls apart. And by the way, the New York Times, which believed the Duke LaCrosse case right up until the prosecutor, Mike Nifong, was disbarred, like 5 minutes before he was disbarred, the New York Times was still believing the accuser in the Duke LaCrosse case. Yeah, they don't believe, I think her name is Deborah Ramirez, Kavanaugh's second accuser. Just a little footnote on that one. Okay, the accuser, what was her name? Crystal Magnum, she walks free. She ends up killing her boyfriend. How about Lemrick Nelson? Remember him? No. He gets off, and he goes on. He goes on to a life of crime, and I think he killed somebody else too. Whatever happened to Jackie Coakley, the nut accuser in the Rolling Stone rape case at University of Virginia? No, if you bring false charges, screaming rape and date rape and perjure yourself under oath. Look, it's one thing to say we don't want to discourage women from coming forward with charges of sexual assault. Now the left's position is we don't want to discourage women from coming forward with false charges of sexual assault. Oh, we can't have that.
I agree. Prosecute her. Also, Blumenthal, Booker, all these people who didn't vet this, who tore the nation apart for 2 weeks, should be forced to resign and leave public life.
Well, I like that. I don't know how you're going to accomplish it.
I don't know.
You just perked me up.
I was hoping you would think of something. I don't know.
I think there are some things, they were talking about some things that could be done, I guess, for the leaks. I mean, it is striking some of the things that aren't leaking. For example, during the testimony, remember they were going after, there are all these, I mean, I think if people think back to their college and law school days, there are people they didn't get along with. Also, we're a country of, what is it by now, 325 million people. There are going to be some grifters and lunatics who want to insert themselves into any big public story. I think we're seeing a lot of that right now. And this professor Ludington down at some Bush League college who's coming forward accusing Kavanaugh of perjury by calling him a beeraholic. Oh, no, I saw him drunk. And he's writing a letter to the committee. He saw somebody drunk in college. Oh, my gosh, stop the presses. But the first college roommate, James Roach, I think his name is, during the testimony, Kavanaugh started to say, well, there were 3 of us in that room. We didn't get along with this guy. In fact, the other 2 fought like cats and dogs. Roach, or the other one, took all of his furniture and put it out on the courtyard, which I think sounds like a great prank. But he kept saying, "No, I'm not going to get into the redacted portions about this guy, James Roach." How come that hasn't leaked? I think we know which side is leaking here. I want to know more about this college roommate.
Good point. A lot of investigating will begin next week after this is over.
After Kavanaugh is confirmed.
Yes. Oh, I hate to say we're out of time, but if you want to read a great book, Ann Coulter's new book is her best ever, and it really kind of explains what the hell's going on here. It's called Resistance is Futile, and you go to AnnCoulter.com, or just buy it on Amazon. But AnnCoulter.com, you can get her column there. Follow her on Twitter. Ann Coulter, thanks for being with us.
Good to talk to you, Mark Simone. Bye-bye.
Take care.